What if I told you that piracy just hit its highest level in over a decade? What if I told you that the same people who killed Napster and shut down the Pirate Bay are now accidentally bringing piracy back from the dead? And what if I told you that in 2024, more people are illegally downloading content than at any point since 2010? We were supposed to be living in the golden age of streaming. Netflix won. Spotify conquered music. Piracy was dead and buried. Game over, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into one of the most insane plot twists in internet history. How the streaming services that were supposed to end piracy are now accidentally causing the biggest piracy renaissance we've seen in 15 years. And here's the kicker that nobody's talking about. This isn't happening because people are greedy or immoral. It's happening because corporations got so greedy that they forced millions of law-abiding customers to become pirates again. They literally created the problem they spent billions trying to solve. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's explore how streaming services committed corporate suicide and accidentally resurrected the piracy empire they worked so hard to destroy. Let's rewind to 2007, the year that changed everything. Steve Jobs walks on stage and introduces the iPhone, and suddenly the future is here. But something else happened that year that was just as revolutionary. Netflix launched streaming. For the first time in history, you could watch thousands of movies and TV shows instantly, legally for just $7.99 a month. No ads, no late fees, no driving to Blockbuster. Just pure, unlimited entertainment. And you know what happened? Piracy started dying. Not because of lawsuits or threats or anti-piracy campaigns, but because Netflix made being legal easier than being a pirate. BitTorrent traffic dropped 20% between 2011 and 2015. The Pirate Bay's visitor numbers plummeted. Even hardcore pirates started paying for Netflix because why spend hours downloading a movie when you could just click and watch? The music industry figured this out too. Spotify launched in 2008, and suddenly illegal music downloads collapsed. By 2015, music piracy had dropped by over 50%. People wanted to pay for content. They just needed it to be convenient and affordable. This was supposed to be the end of the piracy wars. The streaming services won. Pirates surrendered. Everyone lived happily ever after, except that's not what happened at all. Because while consumers were celebrating this new golden age, executives in boardrooms across Hollywood were looking at Netflix's success and thinking one thing: we want that money. And that's when everything started falling apart. Picture this: it's 2019, and Disney executives are having a meeting. They're looking at the billions of dollars Netflix is making by streaming Disney content. And they realize something that would change the entire entertainment industry. Why are we giving Netflix our content when we could be Netflix? And just like that, Disney Plus was born. Not because consumers wanted another streaming service, but because Disney wanted Netflix's money. Then the dominoes started falling. HBO Max launched. Peacock appeared. Paramount Plus, Discovery Plus, Apple TV Plus, AMC Plus. Every single media company looked at Netflix's success and said, I want one of those. By 2025, there are over 200 streaming services in the United States alone. 200 services. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. Remember when Netflix was $7.99 a month with everything you wanted to watch? Now, to get the same content, you need Netflix, $15 to $49, Disney Plus, $13.99, Hulu, $17.99, HBO Max, $15.99, Amazon Prime, $14.99, Paramount Plus, $11.99, Apple TV Plus, $9.99, that's $100 per month. More than cable ever cost. The thing streaming was supposed to replace. And you know what else? You still can't watch everything. That show you love? It's exclusive to a service you don't have. Want to watch the new season? Subscribe to another platform. Movie leaving Netflix? Hope you have Disney Plus. Consumers started doing the math. and millions of them came to the same conclusion. This is worse than cable ever was. And that's when something started happening. Something the streaming executives never saw coming. Something they thought was impossible. People started becoming pirates. The data doesn't lie, and it's absolutely shocking. Between 2019 and 2023, piracy traffic increased by 137%. Let that sink in. While streaming services were multiplying like rabbits, piracy was growing even faster. Sites that were once dead or dying suddenly saw massive traffic surges. Torrent networks that hadn't been relevant in years were back in business. Illegal streaming sites were getting hundreds of millions of visitors per month. But here's what makes this piracy renaissance different from the Napster era. These aren't teenagers trying to get free stuff. These are former paying customers who got fed up and left. A survey in 2023 found that 64% of pirates previously paid for streaming services. They didn't start as pirates. Streaming services turned them into pirates. Think about how insane that is. Companies spent billions building streaming platforms to convert pirates into customers. And then they spent more billions turning those customers back into pirates. Let me tell you about subscription fatigue. The phenomenon that's killing streaming. People are tired. Tired of managing 10 different apps. Tired of forgetting which service has which show. Tired of content randomly disappearing. Tired of price increases every 6 months. And modern piracy? It's easier than ever. Remember when pirating meant downloading sketchy software, risking viruses, waiting hours for downloads? Not anymore. Today's piracy tools are sophisticated. Real to-breed services offer instant streaming of pirated content with Netflix-level quality. Plex servers let you build your own personal Netflix with pirated content. Kodi boxes come preloaded with everything you need. But the most telling sign that streaming services failed? Reddit communities dedicated to piracy have exploded. Our piracy went from 400 members in 2019 to over 1.2 million in 2024. These aren't criminals, they're frustrated. Customers sharing tips on how to escape the streaming nightmare. And it gets worse for streaming companies. Because while piracy is surging, something even more devastating is happening to their business. November 2022. Netflix does something that will go down in history as one of the biggest corporate PR disasters ever. They announce a crackdown on password sharing. For years, password sharing was the secret sauce that made streaming work. You shared with family. Friends shared with each other. Everyone had access. And most people eventually got their own subscriptions anyway. Netflix's co-founder, Reed Hastings, literally said in 2016, "Password sharing is something you have to learn to live with, because there's so much legitimate password sharing." They knew people did it. They encouraged it. But in 2022, when growth started slowing, Netflix panicked. They implemented systems to detect password sharing. They started charging extra fees for additional users. They kicked people off accounts. And you know what happened? Millions of people who were casually watching Netflix on someone else's account didn't think, "Oh, I should get my own subscription." They thought, "Guess I'm done with Netflix." But here's the really devastating part. Many of those people didn't just stop watching. They went to piracy. Sites like F-Movies and Soap2Day saw traffic spikes that directly correlated with Netflix's password-sharing crackdown. Then Disney Plus followed Netflix's lead. Then HBO Max, then everyone else. It was like watching a suicide pact play out in real time. These companies looked at millions of casual viewers, people who might eventually become paying customers, and said, "Get out." So they did, straight into the arms of piracy. But the streaming services weren't done shooting themselves in the foot, because next they decided to bring back the one thing that made everyone hate cable in the first place. Remember when streaming was supposed to be ad-free? Remember when that was the whole point? Well, forget about it because ads are back, baby. Netflix launched an ad-supported tier. Disney Plus added commercials. Hulu, which was always ad-heavy, got even worse. Prime Video started showing ads even for paying subscribers. But here's the insulting part. They didn't make the ad tiers cheap. You're paying almost $10 extra to not watch commercials on content you're already paying to access. And consumers looked at this and thought, wait, I'm paying for streaming to avoid ads. Now I'm paying more to avoid ads on streaming? This is just cable with extra steps. But the worst was yet to come. In 2023, streaming services started purging content at an unprecedented rate. HBO Max deleted dozens of original shows and movies, content they created, to save money on residuals. Disney Plus started removing content. Netflix canceled shows after one season. Entire series disappeared overnight. People who paid to watch shows found them gone. No warning, no explanation, just deleted from existence. Movies you wanted to rewatch? Gone. Shows you were in the middle of? Canceled and removed. And here's the thing pirates started saying. You know what never disappears? My hard drive? You know what never gets deleted? Downloaded content. The streaming services were making the pirates' argument for them. You don't own anything on streaming, pirates said. Content can vanish anytime. The only way to truly own something is to download it, and millions of former streaming subscribers started agreeing. But while all this chaos was unfolding in video streaming, the music industry was quietly watching and learning, and they decided to make the exact same mistake. For a long time, music streaming seemed immune to the problems plaguing video. Spotify had basically won. Apple Music was there as an alternative. Everyone was happy. Until they weren't. In 2023, Spotify raised prices. Then again, in 2024, they also started limiting features for free users more aggressively. Apple Music followed suit. YouTube Music got more restrictive. But the real problem was something most people don't realize. Artists were getting screwed. Spotify pays artists between $0.03 to $0.05 per stream. That means an artist needs 250 streams to make a single dollar. And when artists complained publicly, fans started feeling guilty. I'm paying Spotify $11 a month and my favorite artist gets basically nothing. So, a weird thing started happening. Music piracy came back, but with a twist. People started pirating music and then donating directly to artists through Patreon or Bandcamp. Sites like SoulSeek, which had been dormant for years, saw user numbers surge. Torrent sites for music, FLAC files exploded in popularity. YouTube to MP3 converters processed billions of downloads. But here's what makes this different. These pirates weren't trying to avoid paying. They were trying to make sure artists actually got their money. They'd rather pirate and donate $5 directly to an artist than pay Spotify $11, where the artist gets pennies. And while both music and video streaming were collapsing under their own greed, technology was evolving to make piracy easier, safer, and more attractive than ever before. Let's talk about how insanely easy modern piracy has become. Because if you haven't pirated in 10 years, you wouldn't recognize it today. Real Debrid and similar services cost like $3 a month and give you instant access to basically everything. You click a torrent link, it downloads instantly to their servers, and you stream it like Netflix. No waiting. No downloading to your computer. Just instant streaming. Plex has evolved into a complete streaming platform. You set up a server, point it at your downloaded content, and boom! You have your own personal Netflix with everything you want, ad-free, forever. Stremio with Torrentio takes it even further. Install the app, add an add-on, and you have Netflix's interface with pirated content. It's literally indistinguishable from a real streaming service. And here's the terrifying part for streaming companies. The user experience of modern piracy is better than legal streaming. Better quality options, no geo-restrictions. Content never disappears, no ads. No forced recommendations, complete control. VPNs have become mainstream and cheap. For $5 a month, you're essentially invisible to your ISP. The risk of getting caught pirating is lower than it's ever been. And streaming services can't compete with free, better, and more convenient. They spent billions building platforms that are objectively worse than what pirates built for free. But here's the saddest part. This didn't have to happen. Streaming had won. Piracy was dying. All they had to do was not get greedy. And now we're heading toward a future that nobody wanted, but everyone saw coming. So where does this end? Because right now we're in a death spiral. Streaming services are losing subscribers, so they raise prices and add ads, which causes more people to cancel, which causes more price increases, which drives more people to piracy. Some analysts predict that by 2026, we'll see major streaming services start to merge or shut down. There are simply too many services chasing too few customers. The ironic thing, we might end up back where we started. A few major streaming platforms with most content, priced reasonably, because that's the only business model that actually works. But the damage is done. Millions of people who were converted from pirates to paying customers have been converted back. And once someone returns to piracy and realizes how much better it is now, they're not coming back. There's a saying in the piracy community, piracy is a service problem. When you provide better service than pirates, piracy dies. When your service becomes worse than piracy, piracy thrives. Netflix proved this in 2010. They killed piracy with convenience and value. But then greed took over, and they resurrected the very thing they defeated. So, what's the lesson here? For consumers, it's simple. Companies will only change when we force them to. Cancel subscriptions. Demand better. Vote with your wallet. For streaming services, it's probably too late. They had the winning formula and threw it away for short-term profit. From the death of piracy in 2010 to its resurrection in 2024, we've witnessed one of the most spectacular corporate self-destructions in modern history. Streaming services didn't just fail to kill piracy. They brought it back stronger than ever. They took paying customers and turned them into pirates. They had everything and they lost it all to greed. Share this video with anyone paying for 5+ streaming services. Subscribe for more deep dives into tech industry chaos. And remember, when corporations choose greed over customers, customers will find alternatives.